These days, we can't go a day without hearing the word tech mentioned in one form or the other. It's as common as the word as food. But sometimes I wonder, do we really understand what tech is and its role in our lives? With me to simplify our understanding of this word and its relevance in our lives is Oludare Medunoye, a technology and innovation enthusiast with over 15 years of experience in the IT industry. Dare is the Chief Digital Officer for Hares Insurance and Hares Life Assurance. He is a member of the advisory committee at Africa Prudential, advising on technology direction. Dare also sits on the board of Milky Express Limited and is the author of the book, The Evolution of My Prayers. Welcome, Dare.
Hi, Feran. Pleasure to be here.
Dare is also my neighbor, by the way, and somebody I admire a lot. Yeah, so it's really, really cool to have you here with me.
Thank you so much. Same here.
We've been wanting to do this for a while because
Yeah,
you're all about tech and a bunch of other things. So I'm so happy we're here doing this. So let's jump right in. First. What is tech? I didn't say technology.
I know.
What is tech? And is it different from technology?
Yeah, I totally anticipated that question. Tech is technology, the same thing, it's just a short form that has become a buzzword. And it's essentially a systematic applied knowledge. It's as simple as that. And the purpose is to solve a problem or to make something efficient.
Systematic applied knowledge
Right.
with the purpose to solve a problem or make something efficient.
That's it.
Break it down again.
Okay, so you travel, I guess,
Yes.
right? So before what social media, when you travel, you have to roam, I guess.
Yes. And it
if
costs
you
lots
don't-
of money.
Yeah, if you don't roam, how easy is it to communicate with your people back home?
It's difficult unless you have an endless pool of money.
Exactly. So does WhatsApp solve that problem for you?
Yes, it does.
That's technology. Someone has put a system together to solve that problem.
Problem. Right. But what about countries like United Arab Emirates where you can't
You
make
can't
voice
make
calls?
WhatsApp calls, but you can still chat.
Right. You can't make WhatsApp voice calls, but you can still chat on WhatsApp.
Yes,
Right. Okay. So it's solving a problem.
exactly.
Okay. So why is it, what's so special about it? Everybody is tech. It sounds like it's been around forever. So what's the big deal?
Well, essentially, the construct of the world is problems come and people need to think to find a solution.
Okay.
So essentially, technology is an enabler that helps you solve problems. That's it. It's just that the construct is around the system you use in solving that problem. And technology is useful in solving a problem. So that's why it's important, and that's why it's part of our lives now.
So why are some people scared of it? There's a lot of people who seem to be scared of technology. But if it's a problem solver, shouldn't we all be embracing it, regardless of age?
Good question. Like every other thing, if the purpose of something is not known, abuse is inevitable. So with every other thing, technology also has its downsides, has its drawback.
Okay.
And that is why it is important for us to have conversations like this so that people are educated to embrace technology and understand technology. And I'll give you an example. So we just mentioned WhatsApp, right?
Yes.
And I'm very sure you're aware that people's information and even bank details have been compromised with WhatsApp.
Yes.
So if you're going to use WhatsApp, it's important to learn to secure your WhatsApp by adding another layer of security. It's called multi-factor authenticator.
Let me interrupt you. Multi-factor authenticator. You're assuming that you're talking to tech-savvy people, because even me, that I like to think I'm tech-savvy, by the time you start telling me all this tech jargon, in my opinion, I'm like,
Okay, don't worry. I'll break it down,
yeah.
and I'll take it as a point of view to be teaching you.
Yes, please.
So multi-factor also means another level of security.
Okay.
So for example, I can't access your WhatsApp right now because it's on your device, right?
Yes.
So if I'm able to access your device one way or the other, you want to add another layer of security by means of a PIN or a password that
Okay.
only you know. So even though I have access to your device, which is the first layer of security, I don't know your PIN. So that's why it's called multiple, like multi-layer of security. So what I'm saying essentially is that it's not just good. It's not just enough to have WhatsApp, right? It's important to understand how to be protected while using WhatsApp. That's why it's important to educate people about technology.
Right? And how do we educate people simply? Because here's the reason why I ask this is, it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds like you're asking us to do a lot of work to be able to use technology efficiently.
Okay, so that shouldn't be the narrative, to be honest, because technology is designed to make life simple. In our society, it's a buzzword, right? Because a lot of people don't understand it, and it kind of feels like to be along or to sound cool or to sound like you know, you have to use you have to use words like tech and stuff like that. However, it's very rational, right? So, fortunately, we have access to YouTube, we have access to other means that can break it down and make it as simple as possible. It's actually not difficult, it's not complex. But our society, because we often don't understand these things, right? But we have to sound like we know it. We often make it sound as more complex than it is. It's not complex, it's very simple.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of technology in today's world?
Right. So technology is part of our lives now. It's a lifestyle. Okay. You can't pretty much function without it. For example, for you to have a functional mobile device, you need to have NIN, which is like a unique identification. You also need to connect your NIN to your SIM card, right? Because
Isn't this a Nigeria-centric thing? This whole...
well, it's sort of it's applicable to some countries, but I'm even bringing it home. Since we're trying to break it down. So it means that for you to function, I guess a lot of people need their mobile device to function. You need to use technology. So technology is for our advantage, right? It helps us to communicate. It helps us to, as you know, my wife has a brand called Milk Express, right? And a major point of sale for her, a major point of marketing is social media, right? So technology has that advantage. It's very simple, doesn't cost a lot, and you can get on it and start getting the advantages. However, there are also disadvantages. The narrative of Yahoo Yahoo, as we know these days, is the impact of people taking advantage of technology to defraud people. So it has its advantages, it has its disadvantages.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to something you just said now. It's something about it being affordable. There is a large percentage of Nigerians who earn below a certain earning bracket,
Right.
who see technology as expensive. So whilst they save to buy expensive smartphones, for example, there's never any data on their phone, and they're functioning. So what do you say to people like that?
Well, I think there's a social construct around buying certain devices for you to sort of appear
To
cool,
look cool.
or appear like
Trendy.
you're trendy,
You're
exactly.
hip.
So it's a false narrative, really, because these days, if you buy a phone as cheap as maybe 20,000, it comes bundled with Facebook. And there are data plans, for example, that are very affordable, that allows you to to get on Facebook, even if you're not able to get on all the other internet activities.
Okay. So we talked a lot about smartphones and phone-related technology. What is the breadth of this tech that we're talking about?
I would say there is no limit, and it has formed a life of its own.
How so?
So, for example, there is this social dilemma right now with big tech companies, right? because the big tech companies, and I say like a YouTube, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they have become part of our lives. And they've been designed to keep people hooked on their platform. The unfortunate thing is that it's affecting the social fabric of our society, which is that we are made for interaction. So you go to a social event and everybody's on their device instead of interacting, right? So it's been designed to fit into lifestyle, to fit into every single thing you do and your everyday life. So it has formed a life of its own, and is only going to increase and expand because that's just how we.
But that sounds like a disadvantage, because if, like you say, and you're right, I went to an event yesterday and everybody was on their, well, a percentage of the people there were on their phone.
Right.
It's a disadvantage because it's reducing the amount of interaction.
Right.
And the younger children are going to grow up not able to interact with each other.
Right.
Why should I embrace tech?
So that's why we're having this conversation, because we need to create the right advocacy for people to use things in moderation. People need to use tech in moderation. People need to learn that this is the effect tech can have, right? And they need to learn how to use it in moderation. So if I'm going out on a dinner with you, I should learn to put my phone on silent, because, again, the idea of notification is designed to get your attention. So, for example, before we started this show, we both decided to put our phones on silent so we can have a good conversation. So far, your phone hasn't rang, I haven't received any notification, and we are having a good conversation, right?
True.
Exactly.
True.
So we need to apply this same behavior in other areas of our lives. You want to go to bed, put your phone down. When you wake up in the morning, your phone shouldn't be the first thing you look at, because it can affect your disposition on how you're starting your day.
Okay, so can you give me like maybe 5 phone etiquettes or technology management, not phone, technology management etiquettes?
Okay, good. For me, maybe I'll take myself as an example. So I try not to look at my phone first thing when I wake up. It used to become a habit. Like the moment I get up from bed, I'm looking at my phone. So I stopped that because it's, like I said, it can affect your disposition throughout the day. If you're having a human engagement, a physical engagement with your spouse or with your family, it's important to learn to put the phone away, because especially when you even have kids, kids do what you do, and it's important for you to let them know they have your attention. So it's important to also make them learn that when you're having certain interactions, you should put your phone away. I also encourage that you turn off as much notifications as possible, because your phone beeping all the time can affect how you concentrate at work or in other things that you do. I'll also encourage that you also moderate when you're on social media, because human beings are designed to self-reflect. So the moment you have a free time, what happens is that you go to your social media, you want to see what's going on. And it's important to also learn, it's a self-discipline to put your phone away and have that time of, self-reflecting. So these are just to mention a couple of others, but
it almost sounds like technology, well, we're actually focusing now more on smartphone usage. It almost sounds like it's a disadvantage from everything you're saying. So
no, so think of it like you need to drive, right? We drove here, but while driving here, you had to wear a seatbelt.
Yes.
Right? It was raining, I assume, when you were coming here, right? You had to turn on your wiper.
Yes.
Right? So it's a good thing, it's necessary, it's important, it's changing lives, it's creating opportunities, building businesses. However, it's also important to put the appropriate moderations so that it doesn't become abused and it doesn't become a disadvantage. So that's the point. It's more of a good thing than a bad thing. And with everything new, right, it takes time before we discover, the disadvantages or, some of the negative effects.
So what's the impact of tech on families?
To a large extent, I'll say it's great, because right now, a lot of people are migrating out of the country, and tech has helped to bring families closer. I mean, we noticed during the COVID period when we couldn't move around, a lot of people were on FaceTime or...
that's true, virtual.
Exactly, virtual. So it sort of helped in a way to bridge the gap of the distance, right? And also that's in terms of communication, in terms of you have a child at home, you can put a webcam, you can put a CCTV camera to sort of see what your child is saying. And there's something we call Internet of Things that sort of gives you access to other appliances that you use in your house. So there's a lot of advantages tech is bringing and tech will bring. And of course, it's only going to improve because this is going to sound a bit technical, but
no, it's okay.
because it's like we are building on knowledge. The concept of innovation is building on knowledge, right? Someone has invented a car. You can instead of you to reinvent the wheel of building a car, you rather improve on the technology of a car that has been made.
And then you build a plane.
A plane has already been built. So yeah, it's only going to increase over time, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. So I don't want to make you worried about it.
Yeah, but some of our older listeners may disagree because they may say that it's a tedious thing and life was great without it. So,
well, I think it's arguable because this morning I still received a WhatsApp message from my dad. I mean, my mom sends me WhatsApp messages every morning. My dad sends me WhatsApp messages every morning with prayer, warning about COVID and all sort of things, right? It was a bit difficult for them to do that before because we didn't have that type of technology. So I would say it's a function of change. The younger generation have embraced it because they met it, right? But the older generation, it's like it's a change. It's what you call change management. It's a function of this is how I live my life, and now I need to adjust the way I live my life to accommodate these new good things that will make my life better.
Okay, but what about the element of change that is negative? It seems like I keep going back to the negative, but that's not intentional. But you hear of families where all mommy, daddy, children, they're all in the house. But everybody's on their phone, on their iPad, on their laptop, on one smart device or the other. And nobody's engaging, nobody's interacting.
Well, I mean, again, it comes back to if the purpose of something is not known, of anything, I've used it in everything. Just mention it could be TV. I mean, before, okay, I mean, TV is even a technology as well. But
exactly.
But again, it could be TV, like I mentioned. So it's important to understand the possible consequences and to provide mitigants, right? It's important to, with everything, it's important to have it in moderation, So I would say for families like that, it's important to have that conversation. It's important to agree to say, you know what, guys, this is dinner time. Let's put down our phones. What happened with you today? How was work? How is your relationship going? And intentionally and deliberately have those type of conversations. And I think with that, you'll be fine. There's really nothing to worry about.
It's about being deliberate and intentional.
Absolutely. And it may sound like me saying it, is exuding the negativity. No, but the idea is to be aware so that you can mitigate against it. Do you get? It's important to be aware of some of the implications so you can plan your lives appropriately around it so you can get the best value from it.
And is it more important for young people or for older people?
For both, because as long as it's part of your lifestyle and part of what you do every day, it's important for both because the danger or the risk applies to both old and young.
Okay, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works and ask a very odd question.
Okay.
Tech as it relates to dressing. Yeah. Before we went live, we talked about how you have a function. You were going to wear trad, and then you thought, okay, trad does not fit the look of a tech conversation. That in itself, I think, is a problem. Why should there be a look for tech? Why? That's
Very
why
true.
Police officers are seeing people with dreads and arresting them. How do we change that narrative?
You're right. You're correct, and I take that back. So it's also a social construct. It almost feels like you have to dress the part to look for people to listen. Do you get? So almost like if you want to sell maybe a bank product, people will likely believe you if you are dressing a certain way. Do you get? So yeah, it's just a social construct, but I take that back. It shouldn't affect.
Okay, but at least it's the beginnings to helping open up the conversation.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. This has been quite interesting because tech as a conversation is, like you said, something that we should be talking a lot more about.
Absolutely, it's part of our lives now. So it's as good as what we wear. Really, people wear smart watches these days. So
True.
it's part of our lives now. So we have to talk about it. We have to understand it. We have to be deliberate about it.
And we have to simplify.
Absolutely.
So back to what you said at the beginning, tech is something that
I call it a system of applied knowledge designed to solve a problem or make something simple, make something easier.
So tech is not something to be fearful of.
Absolutely.
It is something that is designed to make our lives simpler. Dari, thank you so much. I'm so happy we finally had this conversation. It's been really, really good having you on the show.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. John, Helen, and myself are going to wrap up the show very quickly. So please stay with us for a few more minutes. And I'm using technology to tell you that.